So I hope we're live because we're supposed to be live on Instagram for the first time tonight.
Oh, very cool. That's exciting. That's very, very exciting.
I'm not sure it worked right, but anyway.
We will know after the show.
After the show, they'll tell us if we went live on Instagram or not. If you are watching live on Instagram, let us know.
Yes, please.
So anyway. Wow, December, like creeping up there, man.
It is.
Next week is Christmas.
Time has just flown by. This year has just flown absolutely right by.
It has. What's up with that, man?
Right. So I'm gonna move this out of the way, get a picture, because today, y'all, there is so much you can do with what we have today. Yep. So I'm trying to get myself in the picture there. So today, y'all, we have. Do we tell them? Do we keep it hanging a little bit longer?
No, you tell them.
Well, you have a cookie.
So I just do a few cookies.
Yeah, you cheated. I don't bake.
I don't either.
You had somebody else bake for you.
My mommy baked them for me.
Oh, that's so cute. So I made 2 types of cookies. So this recipe, oh my goodness. I got to show. This is just so awesome. I got to show. Because so back in 1990 something, and I had to have my little wrap because it's cookies and stuff. I'm gonna move this out the way. So this recipe was given to me back in 1990 something. I have used this recipe, you can tell. And this is buffalo chip cookies made with cornflakes and made with quick oats and made with flour and walnuts and chocolate chips and then sugar and brown sugar. So this is my recipe that I use because I don't bake, but this is one that I do like to do because they're yummy. They're not overly sweet cookies. And depending on how you make them, mine usually come out a little bit more crunchy than soft, but what I normally do is that I add no walnuts to some because when I first started to make them, I started making them without walnuts because I just didn't want walnuts. And I remember the guy that gave me, Bill, who gave me the recipe. He did not like walnuts, but his wife refused to not put walnuts in the recipe. And I'm like, why didn't she just, before she adds the walnuts, separate some of the dough to make non-walnut cookies? So I would make the cookies without walnuts, and then I shared with him. So one has walnuts, one does not. And then I love biscotti. And then this is I did not make this. Normally my biscotti is like a vanilla with lemon zest in it. And then I drizzle it with chocolate. This was a purchase one. So, but it, to me, it's a cookie. So this one is an almond with chocolate at the bottom. So I kept it super simple with the cookies because I don't want to buy the cookies because I'm so particular. So I made cookies and I have the recipe that I have. And then of course we have our hot cocoa, or our cocoa. So I have cold cocoa and then I have hot cocoa. So those are the 2 things that I figured we got to do some hot, we got to do some cold.
I have some cocoa that I've switched to the cup.
Oh.
Right. And I have some cocoa, which was left over from the cup. So
okay.
I went to Starbucks about a half an hour ago and had them make me a hot cocoa at Starbucks.
All right. Nice.
But, all right, what is the one thing you've got to have at Christmas time in a hot cocoa at Starbucks?
Peppermint.
Peppermint. So I brought it extra just to make it so I can put a little bit of peppermint because, peppermint is an overpowering syrup.
Yep, you got to be very gentle. Remember, we talked about it last week.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things, y'all, I didn't know if you knew, but the cookie, there's a history. Well, there's always a history on everything. But the cookie, its origins go back to 17th century Persia. And that's when it was shortly after the sugar became more common in the region. and then it spread to Europe, and then through Muslim and the with the conquest of Spain. But it's a cookie can be like Tim's here, just dainty and just pretty. And then you got mine that are big and round, and they can be chunky. Look, they got all sorts of different shapes and sizes.
Yeah, this one, I made sugar cookies this year. And I
Okay.
keep asking every year about, you know what I mean, what's my favorite cookie? And I keep trying to figure out which one it is. And I think it's butter cookies, but she made sugar cookies.
Okay.
I don't know. I just,
It's a cookie. You love it.
this is the one she made it green, though. All the rest of them are not green.
Nothing wrong with that. But it is loved by millions. Who doesn't like a cookie? Different types of cookies. And each of the cultures, there's different cookies. Like you have wedding cookies that are usually from the Mexican culture that are powdered white, but they can be eaten really at any time, not just at a wedding. And then you have a little biscotti, or you have when you go to a Chinese restaurant, it's a cookie, even though it's not too sweet, but it's still a cookie that has the fortune inside. And then you have
cookies.
Yeah, all sorts of cookies. But it's excuse me. But it was essentially in Persia, which is now Iran. So that's where the first century they grew and harvested sugar cane. And then from there it went on. So the earliest cooking books from the Renaissance were filled with cookie recipes. And one of the types of cookies in Elizabethan England was a square, short cookie made with egg yolks and spices and baked on parchment paper. I did put parchment paper down to make these cookies. I also had one of those silicone flat that I used, and those cooked a lot quicker than what I did the cookie sheet with the parchment paper. So it wasn't until after the Industrial Revolution that there were so many more improvements in the technology that led to to the variety of cookies that we have now commercially. And so flour, sugar, butter, and oil. Those are 4 things. Even if there's not butter, there's oil, or if there's not oil, there's butter. These have margarine, so there's no oil in them. I didn't even put the bottom of the cookie sheet with Pam or anything like that, because I put the parchment paper down. And so, of course, the Europeans brought the cookies to America. And then, of course, they were adopted. And the Americans' butter cookie were a close relative to the English tea cakes and the Scottish shortbread. Right. So I definitely love shortbread. And then there was others that added more flavors or rose water in them, added more butter. But there were so many different names to them, jumbles and crybabies, based on what was inside the cookie. For me, I don't usually like a whole lot. I mean, a basic chocolate chip cookie I'm happy with. These have cornflakes and oatmeal, which makes me feel like they're healthy. I use semi-sweet chocolate chips so that it didn't make it way too sweet. And then, of course, I used the sugar it was a raw sugar that I used instead of the refined white sugar. And then, of course, the brown sugar. But even cereal started showing up in cookie recipes like this one, the Kellogg's brothers, with cornflakes. And that happened in the late 1800s. And then when in the 1930s, then the icebox cookies, because that's when the electric refrigerators became available to everyday households. And then, of course, you have your animal cookies. Those came from England and were first called animals, but then it was changed in the late 1800s again to animal cookies or animal crackers.
Didn't we call them granimals? No, that was something else.
I think that's something else. And then, of course, biscotti from Italian cookies, which actually means twice cooked, because you cook them, you cut them, and then you cut them again, and then you cook them some more, so sure. Yeah, so hence biscotti twice cooked. But the actual chocolate chip cookie itself was invented by mistake back in 1937 in Massachusetts. When Ruth Graves in Wakefield, Massachusetts, ran to the Toll House restaurant and would often bake cookies for her guests. On one of the days, she was making a butter drop dough cookies when she realized she had ran out of baker's chocolate. So she used a bar of semi-sweet chocolate and instead expected it to melt into the dough, but instead the pieces stayed in there. So instead of melting, it was like these chunks in there. And she called it the Toll House Crunch Cookie is what she called it. And oh my goodness, I've been talking all day for the last, 3 weeks. So my throat is like mad at me. Mm-hmm. But anyway, Ruth eventually made an agreement with Nestle company that allowed them to print the recipe on the back wrapper of the semi-sweet chocolate bar, and the rest is history. So that made me feel great when I was researching that, because I use semi-sweet chocolate chips to make to make this recipe. So it worked out pretty well.
See, I like the cookie that's actually, I think it's peanut butter, but they put the Hershey Kiss in the middle of it.
Oh, yeah.
Or the ones that they put the peanut butter, or they put the Reese's peanut butter cup in the middle.
Yes, I've seen that.
So, this one here's my big cookie. This one here's 3 holly leaves.
Oh, look at that. I love that. Oh, I need a picture of that. So let me get a picture.
You better get it fast, because I'm going to eat this.
Let me... I'm going to have you taking a big bite of it.
Eat me.
Yeah, you're going to take a big bite of it? You're like going, look, man, just...
Ready?
Okay. Oh, there you go. Love it. Love it. Got it. Perfect. So the other thing that I did was, because I made my Mexican chocolate, this is cold now because I made it cold, but I reheated some of it because there is so much that you can do with hot cocoa. You can add peanut butter, so some screwball, going back to your cookie, that's chocolate plus the peanut in it. You can add cinnamon. So this is from Skunk Brothers here in Washington State. Again, I don't care for what's that one with the that cinnamon whiskey that I don't care for, because there's so many chemicals.
Neither one of us care for that. We won't mention its name, but it has fire in the title.
Yes. Much better. This is natural. This has so many things. It's distilled and bottled by Skunk Brothers in Stevenson, Washington. So I still have some. I have been drinking it. So let's get skunked. And then, of course, most of the time when I make a special hot cocoa, that means I'm putting whiskey or bourbon in it. So Basil Hayden, that's another option. And then, of course, you can make a chocolate martini, and, you got your glass for that. But for me, I thought, you know what, I'm going to keep it into the small, for cold and for hot, because it's not super hot. But I thought, give it that flavor. And there's other things that you can add to the cocoa is some tequila.
I did think about that. I actually have some sitting on the desk tonight.
And some vodka. So there's so many things. So my thought was, I normally do bourbon. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to do one with tequila and one with cinnamon. So I thought hot, cold. So instead of martini, it's more of a margarita, a chocolate margarita, if you can call it that. But I thought they would both go very well with cookies. So I actually can stick my ice in here if I wanted to, or it is pretty cold. So most of the time when you're shaking it with ice is to get it colder. I don't need to get it any colder here. But I got my options for hot and cold. So I'm going to start with tequila because that one's the easier one to make. What are you doing for your drink?
I'm doing peppermint hot cocoa.
Is that it? Just the peppermint hot cocoa? So what, ooh, I made a mess there.
Like I said, I have the regular cocoa here, and then in this one here, I added peppermint.
Okay.
I pulled all of my alcohol down and went, you know what? I'm just in a mood tonight that I want to enjoy cocoa and cookies.
There you go.
I want to play Santa Claus and drink melting cookies.
There you go. So you can stir, you can shake, you can also shave, you can put whipped cream. There's so much that you can do. with this. So I'm going to put that beauty right there. And I'm actually going to put a little bit more chocolate to kind of get rid of the, where you can see where I've shaken it there or stirred it. And then the other will go into my little cute glass here, which, okay, I was like going, did I go blurry there? So
we both will go in and out throughout the show, just whatever. I'm used to it by now.
So I'm going to start with a half an ounce of the cinnamon again, similar to like a peppermint. You got to be, kind of careful because sometimes things can get a little strong. And then I'm going to put in my hot cocoa. Oh, perfect amount. So I have my hot cocoa. So this is hot and this one's cold.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to put the cinnamon behind this one and Lalo's on the other side. That way it's known that one is tequila and one is with cinnamon. And then, of course, I use the abuelita Mexican hot cocoa. So, it's yummy. So bring up your drink. I want yours to be in the picture too. There you go.
My Christmassy cup.
Yeah, and where are your cookies? Do you still have cookies in your? So
I have some left. Come on, you think I'm going to get rid of all of them in one shot?
Well, maybe.
I still have to eat dinner. This is just dessert.
Oh, life
Tonight's episode is dessert, whereas the meal comes afterwards tonight.
Well, life is uncertain. Eat dessert first.
Well.
So, because I thought the peanut butter one sounded really good. But I thought, what, I want to try something different. Because
I ridded my house of peanut butter whiskey this weekend. I gave it to my brother-in-law.
Okay. There you go. Ooh. Oh, yum. And you can even see it, a little bit of the chocolate settled at the bottom.
Chocolate always settles.
Oh, that is yummy. And I'm going to try my tequila martini. Oh, it almost smelled like a margarita to me.
Mm-hmm.
It had that smell of margarita, and it's the tequila that's given that smell. Wow. This is very yummy. I like this. You got that because it is a dark chocolate, and then you're putting all it is the chocolate water to melt it, and then of course I added a cinnamon stick in there, and then I added the milk to it. It was
how much milk and what kind of milk did you use?
I used Fair Life because that's I like the Fair Life with no lactose. If I have whole milk, that gives it nice and rich, but for the most part I'm using 2%. This time it was a 2% Fair Life lactose free, and so that's it plus the tequila. So you got that dark chocolate with a milk that has no lactose, and then you add the tequila. It just blends very nicely. One is not overpowering the other. I could smell the tequila. It just smells like a margarita, but when you taste it, it's got this nice smooth flavor to it that goes well with that dark chocolate. So I'm like, wow, this is very yummy. Another type of special cocoa.
See, I was going to do mine with Sambuca tonight because I love doing my coffee and hot drinks with Sambuca.
Okay.
But I just decided just not an alcoholic mood tonight.
Right.
It's all right. The show is about that, enjoying it.
The other thing you can do is if you have a big enough cookie.
Mm-hmm. You set it on top of the cup while it's warm, like this.
Yep. Here you go.
All right.
It helps keep your drink hot, or it makes it very
good. Also really add flavor to your cookie because it warms your cookie.
Yeah. And depending on the type of cookie you have, you can dip it or not dip it. I usually don't dip my cookie I'll dip it in coffee, but I don't dip it in hot cocoa. But I need to taste how yummy it's going to be in here. So I'm dipping.
This is like one of the few times that with cocoa that I ever drink milk because I don't drink milk anymore. My body, and I don't know if it's a lactose. I don't think it's a lactose thing. I can drink it. I just can't stand it.
Mm,
I can drink whipped cream. You know what I mean? Half and half in my coffee.
right.
But it's probably been about 10 years ago. I quit even putting milk in my coffee.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I quit drinking lattes and cappuccinos. You know?
So I drink more milk now because I never cared for milk and I very seldom drank it, but I make my protein shake.
Mhm.
So in the morning I put in my depends on what I have. Sometimes I have almond milk, sometimes I'll have oat milk. Although oat milk, everything that's in it. So it's either almond milk, oat milk, or lactose-free milk. Very seldom do I buy regular milk anymore. And then I put in my pea protein and my scoop of peanut butter, which I did bring with me because that was another option when I was like going, oh, peanut butter. I can do the scoop of peanut butter and shake it, or I could do screwball.
Yeah.
But if I want that peanut buttery taste, I could shake it up with the P&B or something like that. You can get it at Costco and it comes in a big jug and it's powdered peanut butter that if you add water, you can turn it into peanut butter. And so that goes in there, a banana, blend that up, and that's my breakfast every day.
Wow.
Super easy. I don't have to think about it. So I drink more milk now than I ever have before, but I'm also being very particular on the milk that I'm drinking. You know, I'm not doing just the regular milk. I'm doing Fairlife, or there's another organic one that one of them is lactose free. The other one is there was a dairy free one that I tried, which was quite interesting. That I was like, well, this is different. But I'm putting it in my smoothie, so I think that's why I can tolerate it. Other than that, I don't normally get a glass of milk and drink it.
Yeah.
But this is not a bad cookie. It is on the crunchy side.
Yeah. Yeah, my cookies are still pretty soft because my mom baked them this afternoon. But the sugar cookies, I want them soft. I don't want them crunchy. There's certain cookies I like the crunch to. Like an
Right.
oatmeal cookie, I would want the crunch to an oatmeal cookie. All right.
Right.
The peanut butter cookies, I'm 50-50.
Okay.
Chocolate chip cookies, I never want them crispy.
Mm.
I want a soft chocolate chip cookie. If it gets too hard, I don't want to eat the cookie. No.
I love it when you break open a chocolate chip cookie and just like, the chocolate just separates. I love that.
So, and I'm one of the few people on this planet that chocolate chip cookies is not my favorite cookie. I'll eat it, but it's not my favorite cookie. I just, to me, I get it. Everybody wants. I'm a peanut butter cookie guy.
Okay.
Peanut butter cookie has always been my favorite cookie.
I just don't want anything that's too sweet.
No.
And I don't eat a whole lot of sweets anyway.
Yeah.
I remember one year, one of my friends said, come on over, we'll spend the day making cookies. And so I took my biscotti recipe and, of course, this recipe. And I think I had one other recipe. I took it over, and, of course, she had all the stuff. She had the mixer and everything, which made things so much easier. I was like going, oh, I never had that. It was like everything was by hand. And she's like, oh, no. And it made life so much easier. So then, of course, Mom got to taste all the cookies, and she's all, her cookies are better than yours. And I was like, you know what, Mama? I'm perfectly okay with that because I don't cook, but or I don't bake. I love to cook. I don't like to bake. It's not my thing. She loves to bake, and I'm a much better cook than she is. So it balanced out because I ended up making dinner that day. And then, of course, we ate her cookies for dessert. But Mama was so frank. I loved Mama for that. She's like, yeah, her cookies are better than yours.
Mm-hmm.
Mama knew what she liked, and it was not my cookies. So that's okay.
It's funny, though, over the years, how much, whether I like cookies or not, so often I really don't want cookies anymore. But Christmas cookies has always been a staple in our house. We've always had them.
Okay.
I think this year Gwen kind of did less, all right, than we normally do. She normally would cook all kinds of cookies for me, and half of them would get thrown out in January, all right. But I think she backed down, and the fact that Mom's house is right attached to ours now, it's all the kids come up and eat the cookies. I don't. So.
Yeah, I really don't eat that many cookies. I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the cookies, the lady fingers.
Yes, lady fingers are an awesome cookie. Yep.
My goodness, you put that in a tiramisu, yum, yum, yum.
The Madeleines. The soft La Madeleine cookies.
Oh yeah, I almost I was this close. I was at where I was at Kroger, I guess it was yesterday, and I almost picked up because I was missing something for my recipe, so I went to Kroger, and I saw the freshly baked Madeleines, that, and I was like, and I'm like, but I'm not going to eat them, so why buy them? But one of the other cookies that I absolutely for the longest time loved, now it's fine, the Fig Newton cookies.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we used to love Fig Newton.
That was done in Florida back before, I think it was 1899 when that was created. The freaking Fig Newton. Oh my goodness, that was like my go-to cookie all the time. And then of course I got past it, but it just depends. What do you prefer? What do you enjoy? What do you like? I love doing I did do at one of the hotels here that now it's changed ownerships, and but they would do afternoon tea, so then you would get this tiers of different cookies and such, and your tea, and so then you would just drink your tea and have cookies, very dainty, delicate cookies, and I loved that. That was like so much fun. Only did that once. But I would also do that for mom. I would make her tea and then give her a cookie or something, or a little dessert, a little something. And so that was always fun. So every so often when I'm in the office, I make myself a tea. I don't give myself a cookie, but I definitely do the tea because I do enjoy, and I think about it. It's like, oh, I'm having afternoon tea.
Yes.
And that's all I'm doing, but that's okay.
Yeah. It's just funny. I know, and many of our listeners are right. Please put in the comments today what cookies do you have for Christmas? I mean, because to me, Christmas and cookies go hand in hand, and it's always cocoa. And the reason cocoa at Christmas time rings with me was as a kid, we went caroling, and then we went back to the house. I lived in the Northeast, so it was cold at Christmas time. So you all went back to the house, and for years it was our house that the church came to. Right. Okay. My mom did all the food and cookies and cocoa, and everybody came to the house, and she did big pots of cocoa, and we would pour it into cups. No. And that's what we did to get warm after we've been out through town singing carols to all the older people.
Aww.
So that's why I always will associate, cocoa and cookies with Christmas.
Very sweet.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
There's always a story behind why you like something. You ever notice that?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. I remember one of the first times, because I grew up drinking the Mexican hot cocoa, but I remember when I was in fifth grade, we ended up going to the mountains. And of course, being in Southern California, that was a treat. Go up to the mountains, there's snow. Oh my goodness, and we weren't skiing, we weren't snowboarding. Come on, we couldn't afford any of that. But we would find a spot, in the mountains, and we'd pull over, and, and this was a caravan of multiple families. And one of my friend's parents picked me up, of course, got to go with them. And so we're, playing in the snow. And one of the moms, she had made a fire and had this big pot that I don't even remember how this pot was over this open fire. And I was like, what are you making there? And it was hot cocoa. And then I said, what? I go, is that cinnamon in there? She goes, well, yeah, it's like cinnamon. And she had cinnamon sticks in the hot cocoa. And I was like, oh, like mind blown that you put cinnamon in the hot cocoa. So of course I had to come home, and it's like, oh, next time we make hot cocoa, we got to have cinnamon in it. It was the best, being in that, even though it was nice to be out and it wasn't, blistering cold, but it was still, you're in the snow and you're having this mug of hot cocoa with cinnamon in it, and it was just so delightful. And from then on, it was like my Mexican hot cocoa with cinnamon is the best. That's what I enjoy, and so I actually, there's still the cinnamon stick is in there. You can kind of
still in there, swirling around on it, huh? So
yeah, so there's the cinnamon stick. It's in there. So that's why I love hot cocoa with cinnamon in it, and I just made enough to make these, although I probably could have made the whole batch, and have leftovers, because I will drink it. I will drink hot cocoa. I love hot cocoa. That is, I'll even get the abuelita, the powdered hot cocoa, or the cocoa that's in a powder. Yes. So if I go backpacking, or if it's cold and I don't, not wanting to carry the creamer and the sugar and all that. So I'll put a packet in, and then I'll put a packet of like the Starbucks instant coffee, and then the water in there.
Mhm.
And it is such a delightful drink, especially when you wake up, in the middle of the mountains, in the national forest, and you're having a nice mocha coffee. Yeah.
Yep.
Doesn't need sugar, doesn't need cream. It is
All
between
by itself. Yep. It's a great camping type
Yep.
coffee / cocoa. Yeah.
Yep. Perfect to get the morning going. So
Yeah.
no, I absolutely love it. So there's various things you can do. So with hot cocoa, it doesn't really take a lot. You can do the rumple, you can either get the peppermint, because they do sell peppermint in the coffee section of the supermarket. They're usually up at the top. You have the different flavors. So pull the peppermint. What I did do this last weekend is that I don't do a whole lot of peppermint. Again, it's overpowering, but I will always buy one coffee mate peppermint creamer.
Yeah.
And that's the only time I'll do peppermint is during the winter, and only one time that I do the creamer. And so when it's gone, and I'm okay with that. And then I won't have it again till next year. And then around October, November, I like to switch it up to hazelnut. But for the most part, it's just the sweet cream that I do throughout the year. That's my go-to. But during this time, a little bit of peppermint, you can just buy the flavored peppermint like Tim did, and just add it to your hot cocoa.
Yeah, I just get it in here. I mean, the guys at my Starbucks here in Oak Point, all right, they always hook me up with a little bit of extra syrup. I don't when I usually get syrup in a drink, I usually have them pump it in the extra cup, and I pour it in. That way I control the regulation of it, because they can never get it right. All right, I like to dabble a little bit and then keep adding until the taste is right, because I can never tell you what the taste is right. I don't like syrups overpowering my coffee or my drinks.
Right.
I always have kept, usually I don't have any here, but I always have kept like peppermint here, and I, like Christmas time, I'll do I have some chocolate here. I used to keep some white chocolate, so I would do white. To me, a white chocolate peppermint mocha is a really Christmassy type, more Christmassy than the regular cocoa. And I almost was going to get that tonight, but I was like, nah. They don't have, and I'm a fan of the packets. Take the packets, mix with water, and make that in. I would much rather do that than with the powder than to go get an actual milk drink from Starbucks.
And what you can do is that you can make it look pretty. You can get your glass and then just
run the swirl.
Yep, put the swirl, and then pour your coffee in, or your cocoa in. Mind you, if you're going to do something like that, make sure you mix it before you pour it into your glass, because if you do what I did, where I just stirred it, then all the beauty of it is going to come off, and then it's just going to look like this, it's not going to look nice. The whole purpose is for those stripes to stay there. So let them sit for a moment. One of the things you can do if it's a cold drink is that you can slur it in there, put it in the fridge or the freezer for not even that long, a few minutes. Then you're pouring in your cold drink. It's going to stay longer.
I think that's what we did last year when I did the crushed peppermint on the rim of the glass for what we did for last year's holiday drinks. Right, and then I put the cup, I made the glasses with the rims, and I put them in the freezer for an hour or so before we did the drink. Yeah. Before we did the show. I think that's what I did last year. One of our shows, I did that where I froze it first.
Yeah. And you can use creme de coco, or creme de menthe, whichever one you prefer, and you just dip it, and then you put it into you got to crush it pretty fine, because otherwise you'll have these big chunks that won't stay. So after you've dipped it into the creme de menthe or creme de coco, let it drip out. So, do the, upside down, make sure there's nothing else on there. Yeah. And then, have your other little plate with your peppermint on there. And just be very dainty as you're going around, and then stick it in the freezer, stick it in the fridge, whatever you prefer. You don't have to, but if you do that, it will stay a lot longer, and it will start to creep down, which can happen. You'll find your little tricks. Those are kind of fun. You could put in a cinnamon stick in there too. You can put in marshmallows You can do marshmallows in here. You can do a cinnamon stick. You can get like the little cinnamon sticks in there where you're hanging it either out or in, whichever you prefer. And then people can just dump it in there and then get that peppermint flavor into their hot cocoa if that's what they want. Or they can just eat the candy cane, separate. Some people want it together. Some people want it separate.
I would rather make it hot with the candy cane and stir it.
Yeah.
That's me, and not eat the candy cane, but stir it with the candy cane because it lightly puts the flavor in there. It doesn't pound the flavor, right?
Exactly.
Like one of my biggest things that I love soups is a tomato soup. Well, finding someone who makes the right kind of tomato basil soup is tough. And Gwen had this great recipe, but she made it with fresh basil. All right. Certain flavors like that can overpower. So fresh basil, it was a basil tomato soup, not a tomato basil soup. All right. And nothing wrong with it. It was the recipe, but when fresh basil, all right, it's a very punchy type spice, right? Well, that's the same thing with your peppermint. Peppermint is very punchy if you use too much of it. And if you get a too sugary peppermint, it can give you really bad heartburn later.
Or a headache.
Yeah. So remember the peppermint schnapps that I refused to go back to after, was it last year or the year before, where I said, that's last
year. Yeah, it made you so sick. I felt so bad for you, and it was around this time of year. Mm-hmm. And I remember it's like you did that next podcast and you were still not doing well. We cut it short, and we knew we were going to cut it short because you were not feeling it. And
I was at the condo still. That was almost 2 years ago now.
Was it 2 years ago? Oh my goodness. I thought it was last year. Cause I remember that you were a trooper. And after we got off, you were like, okay, I just stood over. Exactly.
Happens, man. It happens. But that's part of, like, everybody always asks us about what our podcast is. It's like, we taste things. That's what we do, is we taste things. We find out what works, what doesn't work. And trust me, there are a lot of things that we will never do again on the podcast. We learned the first time not to do that one again.
Right.
But there's a lot of things we repeat. So anyway, cocoa and cookies, very interesting. I know this time next week will be Christmas, so we will not be on the air next Monday Night Live. Sorry, guys. We're taking 2 weeks off. We're going to spend. We'll probably have something come up as a replay or something during this hour, but we won't be here live.
Right.
But
we'll be doing other stuff.
To do cookies and cocoa today.
Yeah, I've been working so many hours, even this Saturday and Sunday. I still was cleaning up stuff, and clients still giving me updates. It's open enrollment time. My business clients were doing their renewals, new clients coming on board. So that's what I've been working on. And so a lot to do, a lot of crazy hours, 18-hour days, 4 or 5 hours, not even that, 3-4 hours average sleep right now. My watch one of the days, because I took off the watch, it was bugging me because it was, and I just put it aside, and then it said that I had 7 hours of sleep, and I said, don't you lie to me, watch. And then you can tell the spike where it says that I was awake when I put the watch back on at 3:30 in the morning. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, I didn't wake up at 3:30. I was awake until 3:30. So yeah, it was. And then I was up at 7:30. I actually gave myself an extra hour and a half sleep that day. I was like, and then I wrote a note. It's like, it lied. I took off the watch, so
I lied. So
it's just crazy time of year. That's just what happens, so hopefully I'll be able to take some time off and be a lazy bum, or work, just a couple of hours just to, answer calls, questions, what have you, take care of something. But I really want to start taking a little bit of downtime and get myself prepped for next year and work on my business plan, because normally I do that in November. I haven't done that. So I'll do my vision board as well as next year's business plan, update that, some of the marketing, look at my numbers, see what else I need to do to adjust for next year. So that's going to be my next couple of weeks that I'll be working on that. Plus, my bookkeeper has been reminding me that I need to provide updates on certain things on my bookkeeping. So I'm 2 months behind on that. So I got to give that to her so that she can close my books properly.
Wow.
It's been crazy time.
Yeah. So this week, though, as you wind your week down for Christmas, all right, do you have any parties you're going to, or what are you up to?
Nothing. Just Sean said, take some time off. And I was like, I'll try. He goes, no, you will take some time off. I'm like,
no, this past week, last Tuesday, I had a party. Last Thursday, I had a party. Tomorrow night I have a party. Thursday night I have a party.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, my Rotary folks wanted to get together, and I'm like, I go,
No,
I'm
all of
busy.
our master network parties, because there's like 4 or 5 chapters that I'm a regular part of, and everybody's like, you got to come to our Christmas party.
It's like, you know what? If you want to do something, do it. I'm not going to be there. I'm busy. So it got moved to January. So we're getting together in January. So it's, I don't know. Oh, I did get invited to a couple of ones that I'm like, I don't know. I'll let you know. I'm like, I'm tired. I'm tired. You know, I want to get all bundled up and get all warm and what have you. So it's good times.
Cool. Well, okay. Yeah, I just got a notification. Somebody in the neighborhood lost power. So,
you might be losing, or you might be losing power soon. Okay, so
I get it. I get a reprieve, but I lose internet.
Oh,
because my internet is not like my computer's set up to give me a couple minutes to shut down.
Okay,
but that's the other side of thing. But we had a power outage this last Friday that shut the whole neighborhood down for 5 hours.
Oh,
the whole
wow.
city. No, not the neighborhood. The whole city down.
Wow.
5 hours. Our whole town.
That's crazy.
Shut
Well,
down.
there's some areas here in Oregon that everybody has a generator. So you go to Costco, they actually sell generators there that will power anywhere between 4 hours to 2 days, depending on where, how powerful they are, because they're like, it snows at certain elevations and they're going to lose power every year. So they prepare for it.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things we're going to do is get a backup generator to get things going and do certain things in the house. And I have battery backups for my computer. I have one for the TV and internet router and stuff, but I just haven't gotten that all hooked up. I've got to rerun the wiring to do it. But that's the next thing is, so I have the TV with all the computer center, which is all my internet. Oh, excuse me. There's that peppermint kicking in. Anyway, so guys, next week, if we have a broadcast on, it'll be something recorded. It won't be us live. 2023 has been fun having you guys follow along with our podcast. We really enjoyed having many of you. Some of you are new this year. Some of you have been here for a couple of years. But we want to say happy holidays to you. Merry Christmas if you celebrate. Happy Hanukkah. All right. Or even Festivus for the rest of us. I had to throw it in. You know that.
Of course you did.
Yeah. Anyway, we will go out one more time saying, take a look at our Insiders Club. 2024, we'll be doing unique things in the Insiders Club. And got some new things coming up that, trust me, even I work on secret things that I have to tell Gladys yet. And Gladys works on secret things just to tell me. And then we start going to plan to this. So like, we've got so many things in the works that we don't know. And, in the spring, we will have our 100th episode. We're only 11 episodes away from our 100th episode.
So exciting. It really is.
Oh, and we have something special coming for our 100th episode that we have planned already. All right. And special guests. But anyway, this show every week is brought to you by Gladys and I's business. While we do have fun doing this, our businesses pay the bill to make this thing work every week. This does have costs and everything, but we pay the bills, we sponsor it. And that's how our businesses pay for our marketing.
Right. This is marketing. That's what it is. We get to have
marketing
and bring
marketing. Really, I tell my accountant all the time. Yeah, it's marketing.
And if you enjoy the information we shared, if you find good value, if you think we're dorks and you love it, and we're your second favorite podcast, please continue to like us, share it with your friends. Let's grow our audience. Go on now Instagram, on YouTube, Facebook, and all your regular channels that you enjoy, and just follow us, like us, and tell your friends, that we're here for you. And we will bring in your suggestions. And if you're in the Insiders Club, you have more clout to tell us what to do. Yeah. We might actually do your stuff. We'll listen. We listen. We love new ideas. We really do. We enjoy it.
So, but before we go, I do have to tell the story because it's Christmas time before we do our sponsorship bits.
Okay.
No, maybe we should do our sponsor bits and then I'll tell the story.
Okay. You're going to have to tune in, y'all, to hear the story.
Oh, stay here. We're going to do the story in a bit. But first, we're going to talk about our businesses. Gladys, tell them about your businesses and how you sponsor us and help us.
Absolutely. So I am Gladys Boutwell, Insurance by Design. I help employers attract and retain quality staff through employee benefits. That is part of the conversation, one that I had earlier today and yesterday and day before. I mean, this is something that I constantly am talking about, is how do you retain your staff? If you're in a competitive market where you're going against unions, or you're going against other areas that have great benefits, how can you stand out? How can you provide that benefit that is going to attract that quality staff that you get to keep? And you're going to be the competitive one. You're going to be the go-to business. And a lot of employees, that's part of what they want. They want a good benefits package. So how can a small employer do that? Let's have the conversation, and we'll talk about it. So go to insurancedesignpros.com. On the upper left-hand corner, you will see a little button where you can download a white paper for 101 employee benefits for all budgets. And hopefully we can have a conversation and see how I can help you, or at least guide you. That's Gladys Boutwell at Insurance Design Pros. Go to Gladys Boutwell, Insurance by Design. Go to insurancedesignpros.com. Thank you there, Tim.
You need to get the domain name and the company name to match. I'm just saying.
Well, part of it is that insurancebydesign.com was already taken. And so I thought Insurance by Design in Oregon or in Portland was way too long, or PDX. It sounded kind of funky. So I just went with something different, and I haven't thought about how else I can make it simpler. So here we are.
I'd rename my company, but that's me. Or I just rename the damn brand and not care about it. The companies. My company's, somebody knows, my company's actually Tim Gillette Media. But I always tell my brands. I don't tell anybody what my company name, because it's just what it is.
Oh, yeah. My company name is way different. My company name sounds nothing like my business name that I talk to everybody about.
That's my brand name. So my brand name, speaking of which, is Simply Easy Websites. Let's face it. It's about websites. Simple, easy. Get them done. Get them online. Start creating leads, generating leads into conversations into connections into business. Anyway, that's what I do. Simple and easy.
Keep it simple. Keep it easy.
Right. So anyway, so now our story. Do you know how the Christmas tree ended up with an angel on top?
Oh, you know what? I did some research on this like a couple years ago, and the whole story. And tell me, you got to share, because I don't remember my research.
So,
how the
God in heaven,
out, all the things.
No, God in heaven actually sent the angel down to get something to be a model for Christ's birth, to give to everyone on earth. That would be the thing that we all put out as a design. So the angel comes down to earth and gets all too involved in a holiday type thing for the day and decides to go and enjoy earth. He stops by a pub in Oregon and hangs out for a while. He then visits a good old pub out in New York and enjoys it. Stopped at one in Ireland. And that poor angel, I mean, he had to have the tree, this decoration thing back to Santa Claus, all right, and God, all right, by the end of the day. And he just took forever doing it, because he kept finding these cool pubs that he wanted to visit that had all this weird, cool decorations. Well, take that with, he's going to stop by Santa's house because God said, make sure you stop by and give Santa one. Stops by to visit Santa and says, Santa, I have got the newest thing for Christmas. It's going to be called the Christmas tree. In the meantime, Santa's having a crappy day. All right. He's got a hangover from the bad liquor he had the night before. All right. Mrs. Claus burnt the cookies. I mean, he's just having a bad day. And here the angel is ringing the doorbell as Santa Claus stumbles to get to it. And she goes, Santa, I have this tree for you. Where would you like me to put it? And that is how the angel got on top of the Christmas tree. I have to do that one every year. It's my favorite.
But you hadn't shared that last year, so that's new to us.
That's new. Anyway, guys, you know what I mean? As we're going to close this out, I'm going to tell you guys, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. All right. We love you guys, and we appreciate you guys.
Thank you all for being here. Cheers, y'all.
Cheers.